All right, I have a confession to make. Ooh, whoa. Starting hot, getting vulnerable right off the bat. I wanted to start by telling you a little bit about me behind the scenes. I am a perfectionist. This is not an uncommon thing. However, when it comes to this podcast, all right, I have a confession to make. Ooh, whoa. Starting hot, getting vulnerable right off the bat. I wanted to start by telling you a little bit about me behind the scenes. I am a perfectionist. This is not an uncommon thing. However, when it comes to this podcast, which is so fun to create for you, it gets in the way. It gets in the way because, look, I'm a professional speaker. I have a background in radio and film school. I'm a bit of a tech geek. So there's an element for me of, okay, I need this to sound, studio quality. I don't always write a script, but sometimes I write a, strong script. I'll do a couple takes or I'll edit, things like that. That's fine. I still like doing it. But one of the challenges is I don't put out content as much as I would like. And I'm coaching a lot of people right now. And so many ideas come up that would be useful for me to share with you. And because of this perfectionism, I need to sit down and pick the perfect topic and create the perfect thing. I end up just kind of not doing it. What I'm hoping to do going forward is just be a little more raw and messy because I want you to have the ideas. Okay. That's enough of a preamble. Today I want to talk about storytelling, and I want to use two real client examples and, kind of talk through their first draft of a story and some tips that came out of that. So this should be great and really useful for you because we're going to give real examples of people like you, and I'm going to show you some tips to make any story better. So the first person is a female military commander. She's very impressive career and has a desire to speak to, audiences of younger military folks. And she wants to share her story. She's in aviation and she wants to tell an origin story about getting into flying. Now you're already interested because she has an interesting career. But when it comes to storytelling, we really can't skip out on making the story work for the audience. I want to give you an example of how she started the story and a couple of things that she did that could easily be improved on quickly. First thing I like to talk about in a story is open up with a hook. A hook is a sentence that pulls people in by being intriguing or surprising or maybe hinting on what the story is about. So her hook is, I was in love with my senior year prom date. And then she goes on to tell this story that's basically about this guy who she hung on his every word and, went to the dance with him and kind of the relationship went nowhere, but he said to her he was going to join the Air Force ROTC because they were going to pay for all his college. So this line is really the origin point of her story because she came from a family with very low financial resources and, had big dreams, but no way to actually act on them. So finding out ROTC can be paid for, that was the pivot point, the catalyst that embarked her on this incredible career. So in a way, this guy is not really the point of the story. And if we're honest, I was in love with my senior year prom date is not actually that compelling to other people. But watch this. Watch how this changes it. I was in love with my senior year prom date who was not in love with me. Now that's also true of the story, but notice how that creates like a sense of fun and humility, and it creates an automatic tension. Now again, in her story, we're not really going to say too much about this guy, but it's a really fun way to talk about this dance where she's kind of moon-eyed and hanging on his every word. And, he becomes a minor character, but he said something that changed her life. He said, I'm going to Air Force ROTC and they're going to pay for my college. So this sets up a moment where we can learn something about this speaker, this female aviation commander. And what we learn is that her father was the first generation of her family to go to college. She grew up in chaos and scarcity. college became a way that she could build a life where she could become financially secure for the first time, if only she could figure out how to pay for it. You see now why this story, this insight from this person really changes things. And this is the other question. What was at stake for her? What was the emotion underneath this dream? And I asked her about it, and she made this comment. She said, I just knew I didn't want to live a financially insecure life. Ooh. So now this has power. This tells us about her. And despite her impressive title, this grounds her in a reality that any person, any audience can relate to. So those are two examples from that story that allow you to, A, introduce tension and intrigue faster. I was in love with my senior prom date who was not in love with me. Introduce a sense of humor, make the person want to know what happens next. And it sets up a moment for her to reveal the emotional stakes that drove her, the dream that drove her. And it's a dream we can all relate to. I just want to live a financially secure life. The only way I can get there is through a door that I don't have any way of opening until I learned about Air Force ROTC. Cool, right? So that's an example of taking a story and just making it a little bit stronger. So this is funny. I mentioned at the beginning that I had 2 client stories I wanted to share with you, but I mentioned even before that I want to make these more easily so I can get these to you and get you great ideas you can use in your public speaking and storytelling and business building. So I'm actually going to stop there. And in our next episode, I will give you the other story. These are success stories that come from a tool I've created called the Business Storytelling Blueprint. This is a guide that will give you all kinds of ways you can tell stories in a business context to build your business, to motivate your clients or your audience to take action, to create a message that is memorable and powerful, and to have fun with content that otherwise might be dry and repetitive and unsurprising. I promise you, story reaches where data cannot. That's what you'll learn through the Business Storytelling Blueprint. If that is of interest to you, send me an email at colin@colinryanspeaks.com. I run a small personal boutique coaching practice, so I don't do a lot of big launches or things of that nature. I don't do limited time offers. I just try to make resources that can help. So you're always welcome to reach out to me and let me know if that's useful. Again, that's colin@colinryanspeaks.com. And you can go to my website, speaknextweek.com, for a free resource on making your next talk your best talk, and other examples and things you can use. So I'm here to help, and I hope you enjoyed this. I've enjoyed getting back into it with a little bit less perfectionism. Till then, have fun with your public speaking, and we'll talk again soon.
Do you have a speaking opportunity coming up? Would you like to feel amazing after your next talk? Check out our free resources at speaknextweek.com. Or speak to Colin personally to get a free recommendation on what you can do next to become a stronger public speaker. Because in less time than you think, you can transform public speaking from something you have to do into something you love to do.